Hey, and welcome guys to another little tutorial that we're going to be doing. Now in this tutorial, we are going to take it very slow and try to explain as much as I possibly can that it's humanly possible. For me anyway. I don't know how you guys work, but some things are some things I find simple, some you may not. But this time around, we are going to do a menu for customizing your weapon. Now, I've been wanting to do this one for a while now for my own game and for just a tutorial because I see some of them and well, they're not up to my standards, and some of them's pretty good, and well, it's just the way it is, I guess, in the whole tutorial world. So I'm going to give my version of it. Now, you can, tweak things around, add functionality, or vice versa. But me, I am going to start off simple, and then we are going to continue until we are satisfied that this system is up to snuff, let's say. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a system that looks kind of like this. Okay, now these buttons aren't hooked up yet or anything like that because I want to start off simple. So what do I mean by simple? Well, first we are going to have to establish how are we going to do this system. Are we going to make it where it spawns a weapon here? Are we going to make it turn? Are we going to do a lot of things? No, I'm going to get this off here because it seems to be a little laggy. The whole recording and that at the same time. It's kind of a lot. So here we go. We have our canvas because, we got the new UI system. We might as well use it. And the old ones are always doing with OnGUI and stuff, and I don't want to teach that. So first, before and foremost, we need to do a canvas, right? Well, we have our canvas here, and then you'll see these scroll views, right? Well, the easiest way that I found to make a scroll view is just go up here to the canvas and go UI and just let it do a, where is it? Scroll view, okay? And it will make almost everything that you need to hook up for a scroll view right off the bat, okay? Now, I'm not going to go fully into detail how to do a scroll view because it's the UI system and, well, it's not exactly my forte. I'm more of a coder than this. But there's all kinds of your little things that you could do. So, on my scroll view, I've, changed backgrounds and stuff, all the basic stuff. But I have this content tab, okay? And, well, I don't have it on this one. But I know I have it on the other one. Well, on the content thing, I use a grid layout. Now, a grid layout can easily do quite a few things. Like, let's see for these buttons. I want them to go across, but I also want to be able to scroll up and down when I click in here or like here. I want to be able to scroll. So I put a grid layout, and you can customize a lot of stuff with grid layouts. Okay, horizontal spacing, the cell bigness and things, and vice versa. We will be going over this a lot later because I haven't finalized how I want it to look yet because I haven't hooked up the buttons. We might do this dynamically through script or whatnot. So I just wanted to give you the easiest way to do a scroll view. And when you're doing this and stuff, you always want to work with your anchors the way you like. So you can double click on the canvas. It'll go outward, and you can work with your stuff. Now, when you're doing your pixel manipulation for like your viewports and things like that, click on the canvas, and this will give you the width and height that you're currently at right now. Okay, and you can do some other settings through here and stuff, but this is how you can read what your current width and height is. Okay, so if it changes things, you should be okay. Now in your scroll view, you have height and height and how wide it is, things like that. Now I have 200 by 0, okay? But when you do your anchoring and stuff, make sure you hold down Alt, and any time that you adjust these, redo these, okay? Because it will, it'll place it in the right spot, and it'll be anchored that way. Because if you start moving the size and then you don't do that, I find that it goes off a little and things, and it doesn't stay where you want it to. So it kind of sucks, okay? I'm not going to lie, it kind of sucks. So just to warn you with that. Now, I have this event system, and what I'm using to do are the picture where the weapon actually shows up. It's simple. I'm using just a camera, like we did with our first person shooter, except I'm not doing with depth only, I'm doing a solid color. And then I have it orthographic because I don't care about the depth view or anything like that, or the curve appeal, which you could easily, this could be switched to something different later. So that way we can spin the weapon around or animate, what parts of the weapon we want to mod, right? But this isn't very important because this is just a view, and this is what we're using to bring up the view. I got the full rec, so what it's doing is this is one camera in the scene. And I have it just render the gun. Okay. Now, you could probably make this a runtime thing if you really wanted to. Okay, you just have it off in another location, and you have it render when you need it, or bring up your customizing menu, or whatever you want. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Okay, whenever you want to bring up your menu like this, I guess you can do this. But I'm not going to go over that, because usually what a weapon customization is for not at game time when you're running around, but more of like before the game starts or whatnot. So that's the reason why I will not go over it. But it's very easy to integrate at runtime. And I put a regular game object, underneath it, so that we have an anchor point. Now in our script, I use transforms to set the parent. This is our weapon holder. So I'm going to put it right here. Weapon holder. This is what we'll be parenting to. Okay. And we have our asset bundle, which is very easy. What we do is I downloaded the modern weapons. Okay. It's free on the asset store. So just type in modern weapons pack. You'll find it. This can work with any guns. It doesn't matter. Now, I made a prefab of my own and called it a certain name. Okay. And I don't care about this other stuff because we're not instantiating into the world. We just want the initial data itself. What we want to serve up to our XML, so that way when we get into the game, we have a file location and go, hey, this is the weapons that I picked for my layout. Do this. Okay. So I named this AK. and I went down to my asset bundle and I made it a new, and then put AK, or whatever gun you want. This is what you're going to be loading up in data itself. You'll be loading this at runtime. So the naming convention is very important. And, well, I went back into my weapon pack, and I went to my textures, okay? And I just popped this texture in, which we will be going, doing more with this and everything else. I'm just grabbing this as an example for now, so that way we can, change camos for a gun later on and that kind of cool stuff. But I didn't want to complicate the first video for this too much yet, okay? So in this AK little texture thing, I made this part of the same bundle because it's the same weapon, and we're calling this based on a string out of the bundle anyway. So we can have it in the same bundle. The gun, the texture, the bullets, all of it can be in the same thing. You just have to, think of the same filing system. Like, look, AK, well, this whole folder could be a bundle, with all the stuff that's in it, and it be a part of a bundle. That would be fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, But the thing about it is, you just have to figure out your filing system. I'm pulling this from strings, but you can find some other type of loading logic that you want to use. But I found this probably going to be the easiest and the most efficient way to do weaponry later on. Because at runtime, we already know that we're going to have this weapon in our game. When I'm pull up this gun, I know I'm going to have this gun, okay? All I need to do is probably load up my new texture, right? I mean, it makes sense. And then, hey, in game, I pull up this texture. Instead of a 1K texture, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, I just want me a 4K one. I want highly detailed, Then you can change your bump mapping and all that stuff too at runtime, from your save file, So basically this menu is going to be saving out to a file, so that way later on we'll go, hey, inside our game we'll load up that file and go, this is what I picked, so this is what I get. And later on, if we get to it, or vice versa, I'll show you how to do this in multiplayer, okay? Because it's very, very easy. Instead of doing a void call, like real simple like that, you just tell everybody you have this, and that's it. Very easy. So that's about the asset bundle. That's about the camera. Okay. Now, I put no asset name in here, and then I put my information in here now. My bundle name, the weapon name, and then the diffuse texture name that I want to go for. This is the texture that I will be grabbing. Now, I have a texture array that I'm not using right now, and this is for later on bring in all of our weapon textures that we'll be able to select with buttons at the bottom. Like right here, I'm going to have the buttons come across and go, hey, I need all these textures to be selectable. Boom, there we go. And then when I hit the button, the gun will change the texture, and then have another button somewhere up here like save layout, possibly. So this is the start of it. Now, we are going to go over the code for our simple part yet. This is not finished whatsoever, and will probably change dramatically depending on how complex we need the code to be. So here is our code, which I don't know why Visual Studio does that every time, but we are going to go with this part right here. we are going to use all these namespaces most likely. I just copy them in because, I don't want to type it in, and I know I'm going to use lists, collections, and stuff like that. We get us a static reference so we can always access this manager item, because there's no reason why we shouldn't have access to it. Okay. We have a transform for a weapon holder, things that we need to parent. Okay. And then we have current holder, which I may not be using. I think I actually am. And then we have the asset bundle, which I make this a public like this so that I cache my asset bundle. That way, hey, I can always go asset bundle unload and then change to a different one. Okay. But if you're familiar with asset bundles, you know that there's a certain command where you can have the instantiated weapons and stuff, the stuff that you have instantiated already, that will stay in the scene if you want, because we really don't care about any of it. The only thing we care about is the actual data being saved on the layout. So we can unload this asset bundle all the time and just reload it as much times as we want. Now I have a private current weapon, which you've seen as a public, but I serialized it in a field, which we will be getting rid of this later. And then I have this setter right here, which this setter is used to, when we set this data information, it will run a function that we need. I made a getter, and then this is the setter for the value. So whatever we feed into the information into, it will run this function every single time. Okay. So when we run this function, which is here, we public weapon, and we require a class, and we call it weapon asset. If the asset is null, which is our bundle, or the asset name does not equal weapon asset dot weapon asset, yeah, wordy, isn't it? Then we set it. We load up our asset bundle based on, the name asset, the thing that we're passing in. Then we instantiate. Well, we don't really instantiate, but I call it like a lazy instantiation kind of. We have a temporary Go object, a game object. We cast it to a game object, what we're loading. So we go asset bundle, load asset, and we pass in a string. But whatever this is, it will be a game object. It's like a type of game object. You have to tell it, hey, what are we loading? What type of data are we getting? We're getting a game object at this point. If this was a texture, then we would put texture, or text. Whatever that is, it needs to be casted to. Okay, now we put current holder equals instantiation of our game object that we loaded up, and then we go current holder dot transform dot find. Now this is find child, not find. Okay, I want to find the child named body, because my weapon that I have, the main part of it, where the bullets fly out and everything else, I named it body. That way I can do a find of that object, and I will always get this object. Very important. It's like the gun body of it. Then I hit get component mesh renderer, and this is a function thing, so you have to have these little bracer things. Okay, and I'll make this bigger. Dot material dot main texture. This grabs the main texture on your shader of the body. So that albedo map, the thing that you put your texture in, let's swap over and see that. And it is, why is that purple all of a sudden? That's kind of weird. Okay, go FPX, you'll go here, and this is the body that I have. See this main texture right here? Yeah, let's point to the screen. That's really great. This main texture, the base RBG thing, that is exactly what we're grabbing right here. Not the normal, not anything else. It will do that. And the body, you know, is exactly what it is. It's a child of the AK. And then another child is the mag. And then I don't know why he named it that one. That's the reject cover thing. But anyway, that's what that stuff is. Okay. And since we're finding the child of that, and we got the material, then we do the lazy way of making it equal something. So here's another example of the type of cast. You know, the stuff what we're loading based on a name. This is nothing but a string, okay? And it is a texture. That's what this means right here, texture. It's like a return type or casting, or there's lots of names that people use. I just say this is what this object is. It's a texture. And if it's not a texture, it'll like give you big old errors and stuff. So now our current holder, which is our game object that we instantiated. I don't use the go object. I could probably make most of this all one function and stuff, but I don't want to because I think it would be harder to read later on. So yeah. And we take a current holder dot transform dot set parent to the weapon holder itself. Now the weapon holder is the transform that we're parenting stuff to. So it'll be below it. Okay? Or the weapon that we're instantiating and doing, it'll be below our weapon holder. So we know where it's going to be. So we take the local transform of our current holder, which is our gun that we have, and we make it vector3.0. Okay? And this sets the position to 0, 0, 0 from a parent object. So this child will be in the 0, 0 mark on that parent object. But in the world, it'll be a totally different other place. Now, it's just aligning it on the 0, 0 marker from the parent. Okay. Now, the local quaternion, this is what this is a quaternion. It's the local rotation, but we want to do local Euler angles. That way we're dealing with the vector 3, and it's a whole lot easier to work with because you can just, you know, adjust it the way you think it looks nice in the inspector. On the rotation, the thing that you actually see, it'll be that. And we do a new vector 3, and we type in the variables from the inspector right here. Okay. Later on, we might have a script that rotates the gun. You know, when we hold down mouse button 2 or 1, or, you know, mouse click and then move left to right, it'll rotate for us. But at this current moment, we need a vector 3, which will be for our gun to look on the side. We didn't have this and this, then our gun would be in places we don't want. So we set the position and the rotation, and we hit return, because later on we might have a function. If these never return true, so we can execute this stuff, then we might need a function down here that does absolutely nothing, because I don't want every single time I hit the button to get a certain weapon, I don't want this to instantiate, like instantiate. It's kind of dumb, right? We don't want that, right? No, no, no. So we're going to wrap this in an if statement. And I have a small function that pretty much, no, this one's not written right. Ignore that one. Now here's my two classes that I'm using currently right now, which you've seen a little bit of the top. This weapon B action, this is the variable that's up here. Okay, these. I have a property right here that I'm using for setting functions. Then I have this so that we can set it up and, do things. And then, public string, 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 and then strings. Because we pull stuff from asset bundles using string names. So it's very easy to instantiate things. All we got to do is say, hey, what textures do we need? This is a texture array. So it gives us all the textures that we possibly have for this weapon, right? And we'll type all this in manually and then save it out to a file. And then when we hit the weapon, we can go load this file, giving me all the textures, give me the weapon, give me this, give me that. Because this class will be important when we go to load up this, when we're at runtime, when we need to pull out our weapon, but we want to make sure it has the texture that we want, or vice versa. It's for a data class or data layer. And then I need an array of this so that way every possible weapon layout that we've ever done, we have the data for it. So every gun in the game could have a texture that you want. It makes weapon customizing very easy because we can pull up this master file, go boom, 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 done. Which this will probably be a list later, possibly, but that's for the future proofing. And that is it for this part right here. Very simple, very minimalistic, and I think that it turns out kind of well for this part, because at runtime, for some reason my thing does that, I don't know why, we will go and we will just instantiate a weapon and we'll be able to see stuff for now. Okay, now I filled this out in the inspector, okay, but later on we'll be doing this from a file. Okay, that's why I have this right here, because if I didn't fill this in manually right now, then we would get an error because there's nothing there, stuff like that. So I'll have to actually probably have a default weapon, but the plan is when I hit one of these buttons on the side, it gives me a weapon. Okay, and for now I think that's enough, because that's kind of like a lot of code and stuff to work with right off the bat. And you're going to want to do your layouts and stuff, work them the way you want, play around with scroll racks and things, get it the way you need it to be, and mess with your camera to get it perfect. I had to, for my camera, have the near clipping plane, when it's orthographic, I have it in a 0 mark, below 0. So mine's in the negative for near. The far, I could put this probably 200 and it wouldn't even matter. Doesn't have to render that far. But yeah, that's for the most part. So try to get your stuff the way you want it, on your screen and things like that. And hopefully I patch you up another video later on, for what you need it to be. So yeah, just take care, guys. like, hit subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you want me to continue this line for weapon customizing, and we'll concentrate some of our some more time into this subject, so that way we can have something cool on the well, you know, the side of game development, because I'm running out of subjects that I like to code for, and yeah, so I need something to work on basically. But you know, as always, if you're a Patreon, the scripts will be written for you and everything, because that's just one of the benefits, and you know, you'll get clear documents on how to use it and things like that. So yeah, take care, guys. Like, hit subscribe, and that's all I have for you for today. Now, you know, hopefully I have another video for you a little bit later. Maybe pop over to Twitch and see if I'm working on this on live stream. I may be. So take care, and thanks for your time, guys, and peace. I'm out of here.